Hello and welcome to another demonstration. So today we've got a nice subject to paint, one that is full of light and the beautiful evening haze in the background as well. Kind of a nice subject to tackle in watercolor. And as usual, I'll start with the sky. I'm using a pale wash of cobalt blue, and I will gradually make it into a violet as we move towards the horizon to denote the trees in the background. I will not be painting this particular shape on the right. I don't know, for some reason it's kind of not fitting in with the rest of the things that are there in the reference photo. Apart from that, I will mostly stay in line with what is there in the reference photo. It's already a good composition, I feel. I'll just sneak in two figures over there just to give a bit more interest. The tractor definitely would be my focal area, and I will keep that in mind when painting the rest of the things. I'm introducing a bit of raw sienna mixed with a bit of burnt sienna to put in that shed. It's quite warm, even though it's not catching that much light, so the underlying wash would anyway be quite warm. One thing that I'm aware of is that things are becoming gradually darker as we move from left to right. So when I paint the path, the gravel path, and when I'm putting in the greens in the background, I'll ensure that things become gradually darker when we move towards the right. In a way, I'm kind of trying to get a gradient wash, I would say, going in this particular direction. The path is becoming darker as we move towards the right. So I'm introducing a bit of neutral tint and more burnt sienna to achieve that. Now I'll move into my focal area. I'm using permanent red, I think. Yeah, it's schmincke permanent red mixed with a bit of burnt sienna. I'll wet the paper. Whenever I put in red, I find it works much better when I put it on top of like really wet paper. It spreads nicely and looks much more brighter. When I directly put in red, it kind of falls flat. So now you can see it's spreading and it's kind of looking really bright. We'll move on to the greens now. So I'm mixing kind of a pale green, saturated pale green with a bit of lemon yellow, bit of cobalt blue, and a bit of yellow ochre as well. So again, just like the path, it becomes gradually lighter on the left. there are two trees in the reference photo. I have put both of them in the painting. So what I need to do is to ensure that both of them kind of look different, and also show a bit of depth as well. So the tree on the rightmost edge of the paper is mostly purple, and the other tree has got a bit more kind of yellow ochre kind of colors in it. The foliage in the background would be just violet. I'm using ultramarine violet mixed with, I think, a bit of neutral tint. It just pushes them back and gives that nice depth and the feel of haze. If it was a misty day, it probably would be a bit more blue, but this is just a sunny day with the evening haze, so it's violet would do great for those faraway trees. Now the first wash is completely dry. I will be moving into the shed next. Just a bit of raw sienna mixed with a bit of royal blue, and it's a very complex shape in there, and it just again, just like the path, it's darker on one side, so it's darker on the left hand side and gradually becomes lighter as we move towards the right. So I have put that in, and then take the darkness all the way down using a bit of ultramarine blue mixed with burnt sienna. The color really doesn't matter for these dark shapes. Even if we had put in a kind of a purplish color, it would still have worked. It's all about tone when it comes to these dark shapes. It needs to be darker than the rest of the painting. That's it. Now we move closer to our focal area, so I need to ensure that there is tonal contrast and also kind of that bright red color going as well. So the first wash has dried very pale, so I'm introducing a bit of bright red again on top of that, kind of a glaze on top, and the moment that we put that in, it kind of glows. So you need both those, that pale red that has already dried and also the bright red that we have put in as our second wash. Both need to be there for it to look bright. Now I continue with the dark color and surround the red and make it pop even more. Sometimes I make the mistake of getting these dark colors too dark, and it starts to look really, how would I say, artificial and like doesn't really work. So that is always in the back of my mind to ensure that I don't go too dark. So if you don't achieve the required darkness, you can always make it dark later with a bit of glaze, but if it's too dark, it's a bit too difficult to correct. What I'll do is I'll leave the dark shape as it is. Now the dark shape has to connect with the shadow, the big shadow that is there in the foreground. So I will paint the shadows in one go. So I will leave the dark shape there and move on to the rest of the things that I'm painting. These two figures would be silhouettes against the background. I will add a bit more color later, but it already reads well, and it looks like they are in the background of the painting. I sometimes make that mistake as well. I put so much details on the figures, even when they are in the background. In this painting, that rundown tractor is the focal area, not the figures there. So that is always on my mind. The tree foliage, again, they will become lighter towards the left. I will add more and more water. So you could do it either way. You start with a pale wash, add more color, or you could start with a darker mix and add water to make it lighter. So here I'm adding more and more water as we move towards the left, and you can see that the foliage has gradually become lighter. A nice transparent mix for those vertical shapes. It helps to connect that strong vertical shape with the rest of the painting. You could see the underlying grass through that vertical pole that I have painted. So it helps to connect these shapes better and read as a unified painting. I'll use a knife to just lift a bit of pigment off there. It has to be done at the right level of the paper has to be moist. If it's too wet, it won't work. If it's too dry, again, it won't work. A bit more details on the focal area. And again, I waited for this level of dryness to add those things, and I can't put too many details in the shape there. Already you can see it's grabbing the attention away from my focal area, so I will make them muted later. But just a few shapes to denote the complexity that is there. Now we'll move to the shadows. I'm using Cobalt blue mixed with Alizarin crimson and a bit of burnt sienna as well. So it'll be mixed on paper, mixed on palette. It's just I want those three colors to run into each other. That's pretty much it. I'll wet a few areas as well. It always looks nice when the edge of the shadow kind of blends with the rest of the painting. So the dark shape continues with the shadow, and yeah, I'm quite happy with the color that I have come up with the shadow. It works really well. I should have mixed a bit more. I make this mistake a lot of times. I try, even though I know the colors that I have used, it looks a bit different, so probably should have mixed the required quantity in the first go itself, but that's all right. Now this shadow here of the vertical shape is like very prominent. So what I have done is I have merged it with the large shadow so it doesn't like stand out on its own. I have mixed a black actually, burnt sienna, ultramarine blue and neutral tint to add those areas where it's like almost pitch black. When you mix such a dark color, they draw a lot of attention, so have to be really careful where you put them. You don't put them in areas far away from your focal area because it immediately grabs the attention. So this darkness will be sparingly used and mostly will be closer to my focal area because it creates a lot of contrast. I'll darken these figures a bit more, especially the head, and just now they look in sync with the tone of the tree that is right next to them. I have again dried the whole painting and I feel that the shed needs to be much darker, and it's easier to make things darker in watercolor, so you just add another glaze or layer on top. A bit more blue into it just to add a bit of interest. I'm using royal blue, which is an opaque color, and I just introduce it to the roof of the shed as well. So it's metal, so it's that blue gives it that illusion that it's a metal roof. The reason that I'm using the hairdryer now is to just get that wash to dry faster so that I could scrape some pigment off. Otherwise I have to wait till it naturally dries. So with the help of the hairdryer I'm able to create the marks with the Swiss Army knife. I took this reference photo in McLaren Vale in South Australia. I went to this particular place to see an exhibition actually of the renowned sculptor Salvador Dali, which was on display, and this shed was just probably around 300 meters from where the exhibition was, and yeah, I quite liked the light there. I didn't have any art materials with me to do a sketch or anything, so I had to rely on this reference photo. Yeah, it was a nice trip to see an exhibition, and ended up with this beautiful reference photo, which has helped make me to paint this particular demonstration. a few more details and I'm done with this one. I'm pretty much happy with the outcome of this one. I wanted to capture that evening light, which I think I have captured with some degree of success. Please leave any suggestions or comments for further improvements that I can make to my painting process as well as the video production as well. And yeah, hope to see you all again in another demonstration soon. Thank you.